I think this episode dirty. You're not sure your is not visually? Well, you have no idea. Of course. Until you notice. Nope, if you can assume visually. Of course. Are you sure you realize that? Well, if you assume. Yep. If I can assume visually. Until you notice. Wait, are you sure you realize that? Yep, if you assume, Julie. Until you didn't notice. Wait, are you sure you realize that? Yep, if you assume, Julie. Until you notice. Right, are you sure you realize that? Yep, for some reasons, if you assume. Yep, cause I have no idea. For some reasons, usually, well, if you assume, yep, cause I have no idea. Cause you're not sure you realize that? Yep, if you assume, Julie. Definitely. If you assume. Yep. Cause you have no idea, right? Yep, of course. Until you didn't notice. Nope. If you assume, usually. If I assume, right? Yep. Usually. Of course. Yep, no idea, right? Yep. If I assume, usually. Until I didn't notice, right? If you assume. Yep. If I assume, Julie. Of course. Until we notice. Yep. If you assume, Julie. Of course. Because I have no idea. Because you're not sure you realize that. Yep. If you assume, Julie. Of course. Because you have no idea. Yep. If you assume, yep, eventually. Until I didn't notice. Right, are you sure you realize that? Yep, if you assume, usually. Of course. You have no idea, right? Yep, if you assume, usually. Until you notice. Right, sure you realize that? Yep, if you assume, usually. Until you notice. Right. Sure you realize that? Yep, if you assume, Julie. Until I didn't notice. Right. You sure you realize that? Yep, if you assume, Julie. Of course. Cause I have no idea. I know. For some reasons, if you assume. Yep. Of course. You have no idea, right? Yep, if I assume, Julie. Until you notice. Wait, did I realize that? Yep, if you assume, Julie. Until you notice. Right, are you sure you realize that? Yep, if you assume, Julie. Of course. You have no idea, right? Yep, if you assume, Julie. Of course. Cause you have no idea. I know, right? So, if you assume, yep. Cause I was made sure. For some reasons, yep, if you assume, Julie. Of course. Because you have no idea. I know, right? So, if you assume... Yep, cause I have no idea. For some reasons, if you assume... Yep, cause I have no idea. If you assume... Yep, okay, cause I have no idea. Did I realize that? Yep, if I assume... Yep, okay. Yep, no idea, right? Yep, if you assume... Of course. Until you notice, right? Yep.